Hello, my name is David Turner and this is another episode of Lunar Poetry Shorts. Tonight I am at our spoken word night at Silence Found a Tongue in Waterloo in South London.
Yay.
Exactly. And I am joined by Donald Chegwin. Hello, Donald.
Hello.
We're going to start as always with a poem.
Okay, this one is called Kingdom. Bow down to the king prawn. The king prawn is the royalty of the sea. Bow down, bow down. The plankton are the subjects of the king prawn, and they bow down, they bow down. The king prawn invites carefully selected plankton to his palace for a feast, and the king prawn eats the carefully selected plankton's hands and feet. The death's honourable. Bow down, bow down. The king prawn has 12 kilos of lady prawns delivered to his door each night, and they bow down, they bow down. The king prawn wears pearl-encrusted shell suits. The king prawn has daily caviar baths. The king prawn has 89 meals a day while the king prawn subjects starve. But bow down, don't forget to bow down. The king prawn's enemies have caught the king prawn in a net. They've taken off his shell suit. They've made him undress. Down with the king prawn, fuck the king prawn, we drown the king prawn in lemon juice. Time to tighten the noose. We throw one half of the king prawn in a barbecue. We throw one half of the king prawn in a stew. We laugh. Now there's a new king prawn. Bow down to the new king prawn. Bow down, bow down. Thank you.
Hello, Donald.
Hello.
Thanks for that. First question is always, why poetry?
I think for me there's something I like about the kind of economical, precise nature of writing poetry. The way that you can kind of create a narrative or a mood or a little world in just a few stanzas or a few pages. And I kind of write a lot of like short stories and flash fiction as well, but I don't know, there's a few more tools to play with poetry, with the rhythm. And structure, and I mean particularly performance poetry, you can kind of play around with the silences and tension and things like that.
And the shouting.
And the shouting as well.
Are your poems short stories?
Well, I don't know. Sometimes there's probably like a blur between what's what you'd say is a flash fiction or short story and what would be a poem. I don't know, but I also think for performance poetry there's so much you can do with it. So many different influences from hip hop or comedy or from folk music, and I just love the fact that there's no rules, kind of like in contrast to what we taught at school.
Yeah. How much time do you spend worrying about whether your poems suit or fit as poems? Or do you not worry about that at all?
I don't think I do. I mean, I've got several poems that are basically just recipes. So I don't know. I kind of like.
Could we cook something for
you? Could. I'm not saying I recommend it,
no,
but you could do. But yeah, I mean, also, I don't know, I find performance poetry, there's something like very visceral about it, something cathartic that you can kind of channel emotions, and it's something very satisfying about that.
Yeah.
And
for you?
For me? Yeah, I'm not sure about anyone else.
Sorry, that wasn't an accusation.
Accuse away. I mean, and also, it's not as, I don't know, it's not as lonely as kind of like writing a novel or something like that. You can go out and you can actually perform it in front of people, and you can, I don't know, see how it goes down and get a reaction. And
yeah, maybe we'll come on to the spoken word bit afterwards. That's a good point. What have been the main influences of your development as a writer or performer? And if they're the same, overlap or?
I mean, there's kind of a couple of influences for me. I mean, in my job, I write about horror films a lot and exploitation films, and that's kind of been a big influence on me. Partly because a lot of the exploitation films of the 70s and 80s, they have this weird approach to narrative, particularly the good ones. There's the good ones by Dario Argento and people like that, but also the terrible stuff like Troll 2 and Slugs and Night of the Bloody Apes and films like this. That
Bloody Apes.
It's I mean the titles are worth it alone, but they're kind of like it's it's like a different approach to structure and narrative, and they're kind of you can laugh at them and they're funny, but there's also something very sinister about that.
Yeah.
And also the other thing I would say is kind of like childhood nostalgia for me. Kind of like the children's shows I used to watch as a kid, and again there's kind of like a sense of wonderment, and also being slightly terrified by things like Nightmare and Button Moon and Trapdoor and all these kind of shows. Yeah, I don't know, there's something terrifying about that. You know?
Mr. Spoon.
I'm terrified now.
I wouldn't take that from them.
You don't find those shows terrifying?
No.
Oh, him.
Those lots, fucking idiots. I mean, you have the mic. Right? Don't let them boss you around. If you're a trapdoor scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Not Button Moon. No. Should we have another poem, please, Donald?
Okay. This poem is called Egg City Blues. 4 million eggs were poached in the city today. 4 million eggs poached and 6 million prepped in other ways. 2 million eggs scrambled, 2 million eggs boiled, 2 million eggs hatched, cracked and coated in oil. Eggs in the city, eggs in the city. Today we eggs with friends. We eggs when on the subway. We eggs in our PJs. We eggs while sending text messages, egg yolk dribbling messily onto our phones. Imperfect eggs are crushed beneath our Jimmy Choos. Lack of eggs is not an issue, not in our city, not today. A couple of kids throw eggs at the door of Old Man Joe. A couple of lovers dip toes in eggs like soldiers and lick each other's toes. Eggs tasted, eggs wasted, eggs devoured. Do cracked eggshells expose egg power? Yes, it's true. But don't kill the goose that lays the golden eggs, because lack of eggs is not an issue, not in our city, not today. Yes, but what's beneath the egg, the whispery one asked us. What's beneath the egg? What's beneath the egg? Some days bodies are poached in the city, bodies mangled and twisted, scrambled and boiled like eggs. Some days there are eggshells without eggs. Don't tread on the eggshells if you want to keep your legs, they tell the children. Behold the Egg City Inferno. Abandon all yoke, ye who went here. Some days eggs disappear like props in a conjurer's trick. On other days the age of the egg seems mythic. But not today. Today we enjoy eggs in the city. Eggs poached, scrambled and coated in oil.
Donald, your poems might be said to be a little surreal. Is this an oversimplistic view of what you write?
I think some people kind of describe them to me as being surreal, and if someone asked me what my poems are like, I might say surreal as a kind of shortcut, but I don't know, there's something, for me anyway, there's something real about them as well. Like surreal suggests they exist somewhere else, but I kind of like, I don't know, I try and channel real emotion and real things that are going on.
You made a point earlier about these sort of horror films and how they use humour to deal with quite scary things. It seems you use it. I'd say your humours may be surreal, but the points you're trying to cover up are quite real, aren't they? I mean, being crushed by eggmen and stuff, or stepping on these egg people. I mean, there are real fears and emotions underneath the
I think so.
humour, isn't there?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not mental, am I? Am I?
No, there are real. I mean, I guess a lot of my favourite authors are kind of people that are sometimes tagged as being surreal authors, like Mikhail Bulgakov, who did Master and Margarita, and Flann O'Brien, who did The Third Policeman, and they kind of walk this kind of borderline as well, like between kind of scary and sometimes funny, but you're never quite sure what's supposed to be which.
If we move on to like the spoken word side of it as well, and your poems are very different when you read them on a page and when you perform them out loud. It takes on a new, there's a new edge to it when you're screaming about eggs, and then, you know, it adds something to. Also, I wanted to ask, where do you stand on this idea within spoken word there should be, there's a need for truth in poetry?
Yeah, I think there's always a need for truth, you know, whether it's a kind of like a confessional poem or a poem about eggs. I think, I don't know, I think you can still channel some kind of like truth and some kind of real emotion. I think people can kind of tell if it's, I don't know if it's faked or not.
But are you deliberately walking a path where you're trying to keep in touch with some sort of reality when you're writing about eggs there? I mean, is it a conscious decision?
No, definitely not. No,
just, yeah.
It's just the way it comes out,
eggs.
Really. Yeah, pretty much.
Fair enough. But at the same time, you're not offering the same sort of truth that I'm maybe mentioning, in that absolute sort of, we can see the whites of your eyes, so you must be telling us about your life, and not, you know.
But I don't know what a psychologist would say, but, you know, maybe I think it does. There is something about it that's channeling something about me and something about my life.
Maybe slightly disturbing.
Yeah, maybe it is, but yeah, I mean, it's I think they're all about my life in some ways. Yeah.
I mean, I'm being a little bit facetious, but I do agree. I mean, that's the reason I'm asking, because I do feel that you do get a sense of who you are, and that isn't necessarily making you out to be a psychopath either.
I don't know. Psychopath is quite a good description.
Maybe we should have a third and final poem.
Okay, this one is called Waking of Insects. The windowsill is a graveyard for dead insects. Ants, flies, wasps, spiders, a lone beetle, all entombed in thick grey dust blankets. Until you return home, honey, I refuse to hoover up dead insects, because only a dead insect truly understands how I feel. Until you return home, honey, I shall dine on nothing but tin curries. And I'll always make 2 portions, one for you and one for me. And I'll keep on eating your portion until you return home. And honey, I imagine one of the first things you'll point out when you walk through the door is that the kitchen floor is flooded. I think a valve in the tap has probably snapped. You might notice that one of my old socks is lying stranded in the water. How I empathise with that sock, lost, lonely, separated from its partner. Socks come in pairs, honey. Socks come in pairs. Breakfast. 1 tin curry for me, 1 tin curry for you. The bookshelf has collapsed, and old charity shop books lie mangled together on the carpet like ingredients in a strange and unsuccessful recipe. The toilet won't flush, the front door won't shut properly. Burglars might burgle me, murderers might murder me, let them come! Ants roam in the honey jars. Let them roam, I say, until the day you return home, and then I'll set the hoover on them, and I'll suck them up, and I'll laugh as they perish, or I'll scoop them up and put them outside without harming a single one of them. You choose, honey, you choose. Lunch. 1 tin curry for me, 1 tin curry for you. You're still my princess, and there's your throne. No one shall be allowed to sit on your throne until you return home, honey. Not even my parents. Not even my grandmother. I'd rather make my grandmother sit on the floor than let her sit in your throne, honey, even though she's 84 and has bad knees. Dinner. 1 tin curry for me, 1 tin curry for you. Until you return home, honey, I'll walk on all 4s, and I'll scream like a fox in mating season until the neighbours pound on my door and shout that they're going to call the police. But they're fucking lying. They won't call the police. They're cowards. Until you return home, honey, I'll keep drinking every night. I'll keep waking up in graveyards and on doorsteps and in strange, unclean beds with no memory of how I got there and paranoia snacking on my senses. Until you return home, honey, I won't change my clothes, I won't mend my ways, I won't separate night from day, I'll speak in tongues, I'll refuse to clean, I'll listen to nothing but white noise, I'll watch nothing but static, I'll talk to the rats and the cockroaches about the old Steve Martin movies we used to watch together. I've been eating tin curries for 5 years. I'm expecting you back any day now, honey.
Cheers, Donald. Final question. Is there anything that you would recommend to people listening and in the audience today to go out and see and read and watch? It doesn't have to be poetry. It could be better.
Night at the Bloody Apes, of course. And Troll 2 and Slugs. And Lizard in a Woman's Skin is a good one. Let's Scare Jessica to Death. Also, one of my favourite poets that I kind of see kind of like pop up once a year is someone called, do you know the Worm Lady? She's amazing. All the poems are about worms and transcending into the universe and being reborn as a worm. And but she hasn't got a website, or no. she's not here, is she? She's not here, is she? She's not here. No. Okay. Yeah, you can't find out anything about it. So you just kind of
She may be in the Cabbage Patch outside.
Okay. And also, there's a novel called, it's 10 years ago, 10 years old, so it's not that cutting edge, but You're an Animal Viscovich by Alessandra Boffa, in which someone's reborn as an animal in each chapter, and he's kind of seeking out his true love in each chapter. And all his friends are reborn as animals too. So yeah, they're my two animal-themed recommendations.
Thank you, Donald. Give him a clap. Thank you to Donald, thank you to Silence Found the Tongue, thank you to Eclectic Art Lab and Edward wherever he's gone. And